Hey, we're cooking with gas here on the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekakken auf ein Jahr.
Nebbech.
Verpupupu.
Vermischt.
Verkackt.
Vertutzt.
Verstunken.
Farted.
Exactly.
You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Oh boy, here we go. Another American Jew coming at you.
Yeah, take off those gloves, take off that mask, and have a listen to episode 61. We hope everybody's feeling all right, feeling healthy. I am a survivor of the coronavirus.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that today. You tested positive for the antibodies. You have successfully defeated it.
True. In your face.
Yeah.
Coronavirus.
Take that.
Go me. Feeling really good about myself.
Listen, you know.
First time I tested positive for something, and I'm happy about it.
Well, that is good news. It's hard to find good news these days, and every person I know who gets that positive test back, God bless us. Let's keep kicking this coronavirus's ass.
Hopefully, quarantines will start ending soon. They still. It's crazy to me. There's a lot of anti-Semitism in Australia on the internet that people still want to blame the Jews for this coronavirus. That we're carriers. We created it. I was reading one thing where they said that we came up with it in conjunction with the Chinese. Like this is a plan that we got together when we were at Chinese restaurants on Christmas, apparently.
So crazy.
And we came up with this idea to have this virus, and then other people saying, no, the Jews created it. It's not the Chinese flu, it's the Jew flu, and we are just trying to pass the blame onto China. We spread this disease so we could take over, so we could, sell, make money, all this crazy stuff. But as a Jew who had it and survived, we don't have anything to do with it, and people are insane.
Well, I'll say this also. I think it is disheartening to see that there are still so many communities, especially within the Hasidic community, that are not necessarily obeying all the social distancing, and that's part of the reason that our new mayor is in fucking trouble because he can't. It's too easy to make the Jews a scapegoat, and you've got to be very careful the way you choose your words, and he chose exactly the wrong ones.
It's true, de Blasio, he, tweeted out about how the Jewish community and all communities have to be more respectful for social distancing, and that he was going to issue tickets because, a prominent rabbi died actually of the coronavirus in Brooklyn, and,
2,500 people. 2,500 people showed up to his funeral, yeah.
Very religious Jews showed up on the streets. Although they weren't wearing masks, they weren't standing 6 feet apart. This really upset de Blasio, even though apparently they knew that this was going to happen. The cops had set up barriers and stuff. Like, this wasn't, news to anybody. But, there are, millions of Jews in New York. And to say that, the actions of 2,500 and to put all Jews together in one lump sum, especially when people are so hot to trot with anti-Semitism, is wrong, and that's a lot of people had a big problem with that and got upset with de Blasio.
Yeah, his choice of words was very unfortunate because I
don't know. I think they're coming down on him a little too hard, and they're kind of looking for reasons to upset. I don't think he was really meaning all the Jewish community. He meant that.
No. We know what he meant. No. Listen, you and I can understand what he meant, but I think that when you get into a lot of trouble when you don't actually when your words are twisted around. Trump is having that big problem too, where he doesn't. He obviously, I think he says what he means because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But I think that if you have to have somebody clarify what you meant afterwards, then the message that you came out with in the beginning was a failure because. Just to be able to single out the Jewish community like that, to say to the Jewish community, and all communities, let's make it all communities. You're really putting your foot in your mouth. I think he would have even been in the same kind of trouble had he said just to the Hasidic community, keep it safe. I think he just should have been more unilateral in terms of being able to shut things down like that. And I think just because they knew it was going to happen and they were trying their best to reduce the number of people that came to that thing, they prepared for the worst, and the worst happened. So I feel like to a certain degree, just because they knew it was occurring, they did try to do their best to curb it. But you don't want to be totally unprepared in case it happens to be as crowded as it was.
Yeah, it's hit hard in those communities because, they want to get together to pray and they're doing things like that. And of course it wants to stop it. But, I don't think he meant it in any anti-Semitic way. I think as much as people look for excuses to blame the Jews and be anti-Semites, I think some Jews kind of look for reasons to make a fuss about what people say. And, maybe he should have chosen his words a little bit better. But, I don't think that he's like a really bad person for doing that. A lot of people want to paint him like, oh, he's horrible and he's the worst. I guess a lot of Jews really supported him, especially the Hasidic community, and helped him get elected. And now they think, oh, he kind of just like spat in all their faces. But personally, I think it's a little bit like of pulling hairs. And I think those people should have been a little more careful. This is a serious thing that's happening. Thousands of people are dying in New York alone, and it's a shame, but it's crazy, as much as there's hatred, that people want to say that things are, anti-Semitic, even when they're typically not.
Right.
We might get some more anti-Semitism happening, especially in Europe, because now Israel wants to annex some more areas in the West Bank, and, that's just going to kill the two-state solution. Apparently Trump, when he was running, he said that he would support Israel in their annexation. Joe Biden said he won't do that. He said that's going to be a bad thing for them to do. So we'll see. Netanyahu wants to try to do it while Trump's in office because he thinks he has Trump in his pocket. That would be in July. Who knows what's going to happen with Israel? Personally, I hope they don't do that. I don't think that's a great idea. I think that'll cause more anti-Semitism and more hatred towards the Jews personally. But it's crazy that they still want to do that with everything that's happened between Israel and the Palestinian people.
For sure. I think it's going to be a difficult transition. Whatever happens over there, it's not going to be pretty or easier. And there's going to be a lot of people on both sides that are unhappy no matter what happens, I feel like. And it's definitely going to have repercussions here, for sure.
For sure. I mean, there'll definitely be people on both sides that'll be unhappy, but I think, I don't know. I think the Palestinian people have gone through enough, and to, annex more of their land is just, like, not the right way to, like, promote a peaceful resolution to the conflicts that they've been having for years.
Yeah. Well, regardless of all of that, I do think, still, it's been... This whole quarantine thing has given us all a lot of time to sort of do nothing but read up on some of this stuff. I feel like I've been trying to keep myself distracted with other things. I've been playing. I got my PlayStation 4. I've been playing the Spider-Man game where you get to walk around and swing around New York City, full of people. I've been trying to do shows. Have you been doing any of these Zoom shows or these Instagram Live shows that people have been doing?
I did like one or two, but I don't, I've been just kind of like making little videos and doing stuff. I don't think that's the best medium for stand-up comedy personally. Yeah.
Well, I think I think there's good stuff, ways to just stay connected to people. We're going to have another guest on today, and he goes live every night on Instagram.
Okay, awesome.
And he stays connected to a lot of people. I always feel like he doesn't just do it by himself. He brings other people in, just sort of haphazardly. I think I talked to him for about a half an hour last night myself.
Okay, cool.
So should we bring him in?
Hey, how are you?
Hello, Danny.
What's going on?
Well, awesome. You're only our second guest. We're bringing in Danny Cohen, extraordinaire. Yes, we love you.
Yeah, give it up for Danny Cohen, comedian, tie designer, Jew,
stenciler, dancer, singer, cook. Yeah, nice to have you on, Danny.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Well,
on this
Jonathan,
quarantine Thursday.
Yeah, Jonathan and I were just talking about how how important it is to stay connected to people during all this quarantine, and that I'm refreshed by watching some of your Instagram lives every night. It's fun to see that you're still connecting to people on a regular basis. I think it's so important.
I think so. I didn't realize that until I was watching Ted Alexandro.
Yeah.
And I got although I go live because I go live, and then I was watching him go live, and I was like, oh, he's just he's doing this regularly to stay in touch, to keep warmed up. He's just sort of just exercising his mind,
Yeah.
and his talk.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, you know what? If that's all it is, then that's great. If that's all it is, it's great. That's great too. You know, you don't have to have something very important to say. You could just press, live and just, talk, shoot shit.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. It's not everyone's doing it. It's not like, you have to be special to do it.
No, for sure. But I think
no, definitely not these days. You don't have to be special. Everybody wants to go. Everyone is going live. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants, you to take a look into their life and think that their life is great, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever.
Right. So it's the way of the world. It's our new normal.
And I think for us, as comedians, we need to be heard so much. We need to have our voices and our stupid thoughts validated. We need to have, somebody to tell us, what are you doing?
Right.
There was a quote once that I heard that I really liked, and it said, it used to be back in the day, if you were special, you were famous. Now, if you're famous, you're special.
Right.
You used to have talent. You used to be a singer or an actor really good. Now people are just special because they're Kardashians. They have a lot of followers.
They made it. They made it into the viral group.
I feel like
everybody makes it.
They say that they used to say that the cream rises to the top, but now there's so many people in power that have lactose intolerancy. Maybe. So, Danny, I don't know if you've listened to our show before. Jonathan and I are not really very religious, but we do come from different Jewish backgrounds. I was raised very Reform, and Jonathan came from a more Orthodox background. And I know that you've gone back and forth a number of times.
Yes. I'm always going back and forth. I'm always playing with all of it.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with Judaism, Danny?
Oh my God, where does it start? Okay, well, I grew up it was funny. I'm the youngest of four, so we all have different stories. It's just my family is very weird. We're very, very weird. It's a very strange family. It's not your normal. I'm the only non-immigrant in my family. My father worked for the Mossad, for Israeli intelligence. So,
oh wow!
I have my sister was born in outside of Paris. I have my brother born in the middle of Paris, and then I have my other brother was born in Ethiopia. I was supposed to be born in Copenhagen. My parents are from Egypt, and I was born in Brooklyn. They were traditional Jews, not religious, just traditional, with Orthodox background, but not Reconstructionist. Just Orthodox but traditional, which is a very popular in Sephardic Jewry. That's very popular. It's either you're observant or you're traditional.
Okay.
There's in Sephardic Judaism, you don't find Reconstructionism at all. You really don't. It's either you're on board or you're off. So my family was not on board. And after my father passed away when I was 5. I'm the youngest. My mother started becoming more and more religious. So although my younger years, I grew up traditional, modern Orthodox, let's just say, whatever, as I got older, and by the time I was in high school, my mother sent me to an all-boys yeshiva, black hat yeshiva. So that was the span of from my father passing away at 5 years old till my years at 13, 14, I was already in a black hat yeshiva. So that's where it went from traditional, from almost not religious at all to very, very religious.
Wow.
In under 10 years.
And how did you feel about that? Like when you went there, was that something that you wanted to do and you wanted to embrace, or you were like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I put I didn't understand. I put some fights, because I had friends that. Well, then I had all sorts of friends. I'm pretty, if you know me and anyone gets to know me, I'm pretty passive. I'm a pretty passive person. I don't really. I'm opinionated, but my opinions can change in a snap of a finger.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm really that opinionated. So my bark is a lot bigger than my bite.
Was it harder to adhere to the ideology or the wardrobe?
I know. I went along with it. It was a gradual thing. It wasn't too extreme. The most extreme thing that happened was when my mother finally had it with the United States and moved to Israel. That was really tough for me. And my family moved to Israel when I was 16 years old.
So you were the only American of the bunch, really?
I was the only American of the bunch. And at the time, and my sister had moved to Israel. My brother Ronnie was in the Israeli army. And my mother moved, and my brother Joel was still here, not observant. At this point now, everyone is observant. My sister is modern Orthodox, but my two brothers wear black hats, and my mother is a black hat. And when I say black hat, that's a sect of Judaism where it's not Hasidic, but they're pretty Orthodox, pretty close to ultra.
Yeah.
They're pretty Orthodox.
So did she wear a wig? Did she wear a shade?
My mother covers her hair. Yeah, okay. She doesn't wear a wig because she's Sephardic, so she covers her hair with what they call a tichel.
A
She
tichel.
follows a certain rabbi that doesn't allow wigs.
That's a great name for it.
Tichel.
A tichel. I love it.
It's a Yiddish name. Yeah, we say tichel because it's an Ashkenaz thing mostly.
I love Yiddish. It's so fun. So it's the funniest. It's the funnest language, I think.
Yeah, it's not a phonetic. It's an onomatopoeia language.
Yes,
right.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Words sound like what they are. Right?
I don't speak it, but I know abyssal. You know.
Yeah.
Danny's mentioned that him and his family is Sephardic. For our listeners that don't know, there are kind of like two sects of Jews. There's the Ashkenazi that come more from like an Eastern European descent, and then there's the Spartism that come more from like a Spain and Portugal.
Right, Spain, and they ended up in the Middle East because after the Spanish Inquisition in the late 1400s, they were escaping the church because the church was trying to kill the Jews. So they were scared of any country that was run by the church, so they ran and lived with the Muslims. And so they lived with the Muslims for hundreds of years. And then there are many Jews that were already there. From already the exodus of the Second Temple, there's like Aleppo. The Jews of Aleppo were there for already 1,000 years. They never left Aleppo. They were there since after the Second Temple destruction of the Second Temple. So they went back there. So that's
right. Well,
a lot of Sephardic Jews speak Arabic.
When it comes to real estate, you want to hang on to some of those pieces every now and again. You never know when when the market comes back. You can destroy our temples, but I had a beachfront property. I'm not leaving.
So Danny, you started your life being traditional, then you became Orthodox, then you moved to Israel. You had a lot of different experiences with different aspects of Judaism. Where do you stand now?
Yeah, all of that, and then throw in that I'm gay, and that sort of goes against Torah law. What's it called? As an educated Torah student, I'm very aware where I fit in as a gay person in a religious community, in a Jewish community. So, or in the grand scheme of Jewish law. So that was always something that sort of like stood in my way in regards to religiosity and Judaism. So, you have to find a balance. I would go back and forth, inspecting a lot of different areas of my life to sort of figure it out, trying to figure out where I belong, what am I going to do, how am I going to fit in, where all my friends were getting married and starting families. I was like, okay, I'm not going to get married and start a family. Where do I go? What do I do? And then, events in my life led me this direction, that direction, and then other things brought me back, and always I'm forever. I think in life it's very important to continuously search and question and ask yourself questions, even though you've asked them before. It's like reading a great book when you're 14 years old, and then reading that same great book when you're 35 years old. It's a whole different ball game.
Right.
You know, you learn different things every time you relearn something. So it doesn't end. It doesn't end.
Right.
It's almost a joke. It's
Well,
like it's the biggest
Danny, how old were you when you realized that you were gay?
Oh, from early on. I knew I was gay from like early ages, from an early age. Like,
was that a struggle that you know, a lot of people have a problem just being gay, just coming out of the closet regularly, but you being, you know, Jewish and it being, you know, against the Torah, did that make it harder for you? Did you feel more like a sinner or that you were doing something wrong?
Yeah, I felt like not so much a sinner, but I felt like it would be really bad if people found out. It would be really, really bad. So I was closeted till I was like, I was closeted. I came out to myself when I was 19 years old. I discussed it with myself. So I knew exactly who I was, and I was very aware of who I was when I was 19. I'm good at having very good. I have great conversations with myself.
That's good.
Yeah, it's very good. I'm usually not a kind of person that sort of buries things. So, you know, but I knew I couldn't be found out. So for many years, I didn't come out. I mean, I never really came out. I came out. I didn't come out. I came out. Even as a comic on stage, in the beginning, in many, many years, I was out. But I never discussed it on stage because it wasn't my reality off stage. I always mirrored my reality off stage on stage. So I would never use the word gay on stage, but I would use everything and anything, allowing the audience to know that I knew and they knew and everyone knew, but we're not going to talk about it. And that was how I wrote as a comic on stage for the first, I'm going to say, 10 years or plus of my career.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And when did you come out to your family?
When I came out to my mother when I was 20 or 21, and then that was the first time I came out to her. Then I had to repeat myself about 400 or 500 times after that. until today, she doesn't know I'm gay. Like
she's in denial about it.
She's in total denial. She'll be in denial. She's 84. She's going to die not accepting it, and that's the end of that.
Yeah.
She doesn't accept it as a reality.
Do you think that's because of Judaism?
It's because of her personality.
Okay.
Yeah, and Judaism that plays with her personality.
Right.
She's that person. There are all sorts of personality that she uses religion to feed into her personality type.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
See, you know, this is very interesting to me. We've talked a little bit before on the podcast about, you know, how to be Jewish. Your mom has to be Jewish, but a lot of people that only their father's Jewish, they identify as Jews and they want to be considered Jews. And it's kind of an interesting thing because, you know, the religion itself doesn't include them, yet they want to be a part of it. And you kind of have a little bit with that because you're gay and Judaism is against that, but you still identify as a Jew. You still have a lot of Jewish values, a strong Jewish history and heritage. I mean, what does that make you feel to be a part of something that, like, says, like, who you are isn't good?
Well, you know, I'm okay with it. I'm totally okay with it because Judaism has there are so many laws in Judaism that being gay is just one of so many things that you can't do. So I don't take it personally.
Right. If you're going to put being gay on the same equivalent with like eating bacon, you know, fuck it. I love bacon.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's so many things you can't. So, like, you know.
Don't put pig or cock in your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, right. You can't really take it too personally.
Right.
It's just a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess for me because I have an inner faith that always takes me to Judaism. It always takes me there. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why I have it. I can't explain it because it is faith. It's not science. It's just something I believe for some reason. And I believe in Torah law, in divine law. And it's something I believe in for many, many years, and I believed in from a young age. And it's something that's with me. And because I have that faith, it confuses my life a lot more. If I didn't have that faith, I think I would not be as confused as I am. I accept my confusion, by the way. I'm confused and I totally embrace it.
Good.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Just spin right around. You never know. I love it. How much do you talk about being Jewish on stage? Do you feel like it's part of your persona?
I don't talk about Judaism on stage.
Well, because it's funny. I wanted to say something else. You know, you're one of those few comics that, like, I feel like you say you don't talk about being gay on stage, but like that. I feel like your whole personality comes out throughout your jokes, and so it's like not one of those things that you have to explicitly say.
Right, you don't, and that was my argument from the beginning. And a lot of people would argue. I've had a hard time with a lot of bookers, a lot of managers, a lot of agents complaining about my act, saying, you know, you're not really that, you're not out, you're not gay, and we find that a problem. We can't book you on a gay show. You're not really writing for the gay audience. You're really not talking about being gay. So I'm like, what are you talking about? It's clear that I'm gay. And they're like, in a very muddy way. It's not clear enough. You're a muddy character. And that was always a big problem. And I never found and until today, I haven't found an audience. I don't have an audience until today.
I'll tell you this. I've always thought that you were like very, so unique. You know, that it's not, they want to fit you into a box, but you're like, no, I live outside this box.
Well, like any other business, you know,
yeah.
You know, like any other business, business people who are running the show need to know the product is a very clear product. You know, you want to sell a very clear idea.
Yeah.
And if you're not a clear idea, it's a very hard sell, and it confuses people, and they're not sure what to do with you. So, and that's me. So that is my reality. So, you know, I am the most confusing person in the world. I don't know. Like, I'm all over the place all the time, and anything can change. I'm like, to be honest with you, I never even wanted to do stand-up comedy. It's not my idea. I've been stuck in this business.
Whose idea was it? Whose idea was it?
My friends. They kept screaming at me. You should be a stand-up comic. You're so funny. You should be a stand-up comic. You're so funny. And I never watched comedy growing up. I never liked comedy. I was never interested in stand-up comedy.
Really?
Yeah. And then finally I was doing theater. I was in acting school. And I was doing some one act in a black box theater, and this guy Johnny Spanish, who I love, he was in my theater class, in my class, and he was like, "Man, you're funny. You should do stand-up comedy." I'm like, "Oh fuck! Everybody always tells me I should do stand-up comedy. I hate stand-up comedy." And he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm doing an open mic on Tuesday at 4:00. You should come." I'm like, "Okay." Because that's what I do. I'm like, "All right, sure, I'll come along." I'm like 1 minute I want to kill somebody, the next minute I'm like, "All right, I'll marry you." It's like, it doesn't matter. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I might be wrong. I'm always wrong. You know, everyone's always thinks they're always right and they're always wrong. And then when you're wrong, you're right. And then when you're right, you're wrong. Like, nobody ever knows really what's going on. You know, that's what I've figured out in life.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows what the fuck is ever going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, so I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And to be honest with you, I really fell in love with it pretty quickly. And I was like, oh no. And I didn't know anything.
Oh no.
I know. Oh, God, I was wrong. I'm like, okay, let me try this. And so I bought a book. I had to buy a book.
Uh-oh.
Because I didn't understand what stand-up comedy was.
Judy Carter?
I bought Judy Carter's book. And I learned it back and forth. And it was a very good stepping stone. And then, you know, of course, 2 years into it, I threw the book out and threw all its ideas out and understood that I had to really find it on my own, find my own voice with my own idea.
Yeah.
But it was a very good stepping stone. It was for me. It worked for me. If I talk about my Jewish perspective to a gay audience, they're gonna boo me. If I discuss my gayness to a Jewish audience, they're gonna boo me. Everyone's gonna boo me anywhere I go because I take sides in a very honest way that really isn't so pro any side, and it's pro every side.
Don't you think that there are a lot of people that, you know, like yourself, that are involved with the religion, whether it be Judaism or being a Muslim or Christianity, that are gay and that still have a belief that would appreciate someone like you?
In all my years, I've never met any. I've never met one person. I've never met one person in all the programs that I've been on and all the people that I spoke to. I've never met one person that understands or agrees with me, except for my friend, except for I have one good friend, Franny Titlebaum. She is the only person that really understands where I stand and agrees with me, and also understand. And we can talk about it because she gets it totally. She's the only person that I know. Most people will tell me that you're allowed to be Orthodox Jewish and be gay at the same time, where I know that you cannot. So, I mean, for me, I know the laws, and you're not allowed. You can't. It doesn't work. You can't. Do it. But there are plenty. In fact, there's a huge community of Orthodox gays, and that's like that's like saying, yeah, they're Orthodox and they eat bacon.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a law that you just can't do. But if you want to title yourself an Orthodox Jew that eats bacon, good for you. I don't agree with it. But if it's good for you, then you do what you do. You do you.
Do you keep kosher, Danny?
I dabble in kosher. I have a kosher kitchen, but I'm sort of full of shit because I buy non-kosher cheese. So,
okay.
But I never mix meat and milk, and I don't buy seafood, and I have separate dishes, and I have separate utensils. When I say separate, they're like, what's that? Orthodox Jew can't mix meat and milk. And in
right.
That, you can have the same pots. You can't have the same dishes. You can't have the same utensils. Where do you go from here? What's the next question? Oh, boy.
What I'm curious is, your dad was in Mossad. Your family's from Egypt. What do you think about what's going on in Israel? We talked about this a little bit before you brought you on the show, that Netanyahu wants to do more annexation in the West Bank.
Look, I'm not really involved with Israeli politics, so I don't know the ins and outs. I don't keep up with Israeli politics, so that's a very broad question. I don't know.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what do you have to say to anti-Semitic that are saying that the Jews are responsible for the coronavirus?
I would say
on your soul.
Yeah, I would say that the Hasidic community at large should be ashamed of themselves. The leaders of the Hasidic community should take responsibility and accountability for their stupidity in allowing for many, many weeks for their people and their congregants to congregate in at weddings and at wherever they were congregating, when we knew very well from Israel and from Italy and from other countries that quarantining and social distancing was extremely important. They were negligent and they were responsible for many of the deaths that took place, that have happened in the Hasidic community, and because of that, outside of the Jewish community as well. So they are responsible. They should take accountability, and they should stop pointing fingers at people who congregate in Central Park and on the West Side Highway, and instead of pointing fingers at other people who do not social distance, should take responsibility for themselves for not social distancing themselves and apologizing and fixing their stupidity. And enough with their bullshit. I don't buy it, and I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. It might change tomorrow.
Well, thanks for sharing it with us today. Well, let me ask you one more thing, because I think you're very unique as a guest and a unique perspective in Judaism. To anyone that might be listening that is Jewish, that is also gay, that's struggling with being gay because of Judaism and their religion, what would you say to them?
I would say just be honest with yourself. Just be as honest as you can with yourself. Ask yourself ask yourself every question that you have, and don't stop until you get an answer. Don't stop asking yourself questions until you get the answers you need, even if you have to take a break for a while. It's all about asking yourself those ugly questions that you hate asking yourself, and getting to an answer, because your best life is your truest life. And you have to be true to yourself no matter what. Even if it's ugly, even if it doesn't make sense, you should really be honest with yourself and be able to to at least at the end of your life say, well, you know what? I did everything I could as honest as I could. And I did everything I could. And that's what you do. And that's life. And that's the best thing you can do. Of course, some people don't work that way. Some people work better in denial. So if you're one of those people, then there's nothing I can do for you.
Thanks, Danny. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, this
pleasure.
was a blast. And
I hope you'll come back another time.
Anytime, guys.
Fantastic.
yeah, thank you guys for listening. Make sure you follow us across all social platforms at American Jew Podcast, except on Twitter, we're American Jew Pod. You can follow me on Instagram at BeatnikNudnik.
I'm at Jonathan Randall on Instagram and on TikTok.
I'm also on TikTok at BeatnikNudnik. And you can follow Danny Cohen on Instagram at Danny Cohen Comedy.
Whoop, whoop. Thanks, guys.
Oh, boy. Ta-ta for now.